You gonna talk now, or are you gonna talk later?
Hey, I can talk now. I just wanted to make sure that I got properly pumped up from our intro music. I didn't know if I was on the screen or if it's just this nice banner.
No, I'll put
Am I
this
on
night
the am I on the screen now, or am I just
Well, no, we're gonna just stare at this banner. You see, like, I found a banner that's got like tech and like jam jars in there.
So yeah, it's very smart. You've got like tech plus, what's like a
I don't have my camera on.
a trendy form of like how do we deliver beverages to people?
Here's my camera. Look at this. I got like I got this hat given to me from Oysters.
Just need to grow your beard out a few more inches there.
Yeah. It's called traveling a lot. That's what happens. Yeah. And I'm not in a jail cell, as some people may think I am.
Oh, you're not even in the big office today.
I'm not in the studio. I'm actually going to Toronto in 2 days for the Restaurants Canada show.
Cool.
You'll be there. I think our guest is going to be there.
Yeah, our super secret guest will be there.
Super secret guest.
Yeah, we have to create the mystery, right? I think that drive up the viewership. But yeah, we do have actually a really cool show for you guys today. A very timely show for the changing over the seasons. I mean, I want to say like the sun is shining and the birds are chirping and all that. But if you live in the Ottawa area or the Quebec area, you just went through freezing rainstorm where we got a nice winter storm.
Did you get that?
Lost power. Yeah. Half the city is still out of power. I got lucky. I was the first one to lose.
You're like a backup generator. You'd have a backup generator. You'd be one of those guys with that.
Of course, I have a backup generator, Jay.
I know you do.
Generator, battery packs. I could run my whole house. But yeah, so we actually do have a great guest coming in from OpenTable. One of the I think everybody knows OpenTable when it comes to digital hosting and reservation services. So we actually have Vanessa Henderson from their enterprise team joining us, and she's going to talk about some of the trends we can look forward to in this upcoming season, as well as some of the great ways that OpenTable can help restaurateurs succeed. And so do you have anything else you want to throw in there, Jay? Are we ready to run the intro?
No, I'm actually pretty excited about this. So, and you know what, Vanessa, I didn't say this, but we used OpenTable yesterday at an event I was at in Calgary. So,
there you go.
There you go, Chris. I'm actually using.
So we can bring her in.
Do you want to bring her in now, or do you want to cut to a little clip of where we're going to be next week?
Why don't we cut to that clip and then we'll bring her in.
Bring her in then. Do you want the music loud?
Roll the clip.
Okay.
The Culinary Federation is so much more than a professional association. It's friendship. It's fun. And it's family. Come find where you fit in. Join the Culinary Federation family today.
Chris.
Yeah, this is when we need to start laughing.
No, well, first of all, not Restaurants Canada, and I didn't run the intro.
Mm-hmm.
Already batting bad. Sorry.
Good thing Vanessa's here to clean us up and save the show. Man, we're already 5 minutes in and falling apart here. Good thing we brought a professional today. Welcome, Vanessa. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for coming. And maybe you could start by introducing yourself and what you do with OpenTable.
Well, thanks so much for having me. I'm thrilled to be here. And I'm glad Jay's running the tech side of things to the varied success.
I don't know about that yet.
Thanks for the plug on the diner side of OpenTable. Love that. We're going to talk a little bit about traveling diners, I'm sure. So my name is Vanessa Henderson, and I'm the Enterprise Restaurant Relations Manager for Canada. So I work with some of our large corporate restaurant partners and hoping to help them maximize on their businesses.
That's awesome. We're looking forward to it, and I know we've done lots of prep, so there's lots of great topics. We want to try to make sure that we can get through all of them with brevity and effect. So let's start with when we're going into spring and summer. This is the time of year when everybody gets to make sure all their systems are working. They want to run all their updates. They want to make sure all their wires are connected and they haven't been chewed through in the winter. But another big thing is around bringing back new staff. So there's a big staff turnover that's just about to happen as exams end and people either return to their cities and get jobs, or people come home from school and they're looking for jobs. So restaurateurs are going to be going through this. It's a big hiring process and a big lift. So, and I know that one of the biggest problems that we're dealing with is around this like green staff coming into restaurants, and these diners having high expectations. But what have you seen? What have you seen with this trend, and kind of what are the recommendations or tips you might give these restaurateurs going through this?
Yeah, I think staffing is improving for some restaurants because we've got better staff retention in some cases and greater skill mastery once we've got staff in the restaurants, but still acquiring new staff is a challenge. So I think there's also the inflation piece that plays a big factor here that could be affecting diner and consumer habits. So ultimately, I think it's about hospitality being at the forefront of what restaurants want to deliver. And while they're digging into training, while they're trying to streamline their operations, they've got to be using tools that help them understand who their diners are, what they want, and really deliver on them. So within the OpenTable platform, we empower guests to let the restaurants know why they're coming. It's a birthday, it's an anniversary, what their needs are. Special notes like I'm bringing a stroller with me or I'm vegan. So keeping an eye on those notes, adding to them within the restaurant environment, right? Adding visitor notes or additional tags really helps us to understand who those diners are, giving that more sort of tailored experience in-house. And then I think hospitality doesn't end when somebody leaves your restaurant. We have to think about really how, what our guests are saying in terms of reviews, and using those verified reviews through the OpenTable platform always helps. And then leveraging some of our relationship management tools to keep them engaged and keep them coming back for more. So this way, hopefully it's going to help streamline operations and keep people hospitality focused while we get through those crunchy months with new staff.
Yeah, and that's great. Like, and I think you nailed a couple of key points there. Is like hospitality, predictability. Like, these are things that, predictability and hospitality were two things that went out the window for a couple of years. Like, we didn't know like what was going on. It was just about how do we serve this safely and how do we keep the doors open. I do love that we are returning to that era of like, hey, hospitality first, and so we need to give people the ability to do that. And today, that doesn't just happen from being the host that's worked there for 10 years that knows everybody. Your diners are coming from everywhere, all different spaces, and they have all different expectations. So I'm even touching on the food inflation piece or trying to keep costs down. The best way to do that is to have predictable diners and predictable, flow, whether that's making sure you have enough, not too much food, or make sure you have enough food for these parties that are coming in. To the same vein, once diners are in the restaurant, if you have those notes or your guests, this is the birthday party, maybe we can sell them the upgrade special, or hey, maybe they're going to want to have some Irish coffees at the end of the meal, which can always be a great upselling, something like that. So you're going to be better armed to help these guests, because another thing maybe you can touch on too is around that people are dining out less right now, but because of this, their expectations are very, very high. And, in restaurants, if they're running at 100%, great. But if they are still dealing with staff or food inflation costs and trying to, manage that, like, what are some of the ways that you would recommend that they can tackle this using some of those digital tools that you're mentioning?
Well, I think food inflation is real. We're seeing it all over the place for sure. And in terms of managing costs, restaurateurs have the best lens on how to manage costs within their restaurants. Where we can help is driving revenue to their restaurants. And when we do that, I think we can all agree that an empty seat is the greatest loss to a restaurant, right? So from a revenue perspective, if we can make the most dollars per minute per seat, those kinds of decisions are going to help keep the restaurant up and running regardless of what our cost of goods is after the fact. So using online reservations to drive revenue to the restaurant means less time spent on phone, right? And less time worrying about who's answering the phone when there's no one there to do it. As you said, better inventory planning and waste control. If you know that there's a large party coming in on a Wednesday night, you can make sure to be ordering properly for it. If it's a large party, let's say it's a large party of vegans who are coming in on Wednesday night, you can tailor, your ordering to make sure that you have those items ready to go. Hopefully, better inventory control in ordering means better waste control on the other end of that spectrum. Yeah. And then by that same token, it's all about managing the staff that you've got and the labor dollars that you're spending. So understanding that with more online reservations, you can plan ahead. You can take a look at what the schedule looks like for the week ahead and see that it matches up with the amount of diners that you're expecting. So maybe Thursdays are getting busier and busier. You can see those trend lines in your reporting within OpenTable, and you can staff accordingly. Maybe your lunch program on Monday has taken a huge hit because people aren't back in office, let's say. Maybe you want to attribute those labor, those amazing staff and those labor dollars to nights where you're going to need it more. And maybe you're going to cut a lunch program here or there, depending on those trends. So really it's about using a great revenue generation tool and then using really great planning reporting tools to make better decisions about how to manage your costs.
Absolutely. There's a lot of really strong points in there. And I think some of the messaging that like is happening in general is, I mean, you don't know how many people I talk to at App 8 that just say the amount of time spent on the phone is amazing. And you don't have anybody that, unless you have a host, which still needs to serve people, it's hard to manage a phone line for takeout orders, for questions about reservations, for booking reservations. And I actually think restaurants, like I said, like OpenTable can take a lot of that on. So your staff has more time to focus on hospitality. But I think restaurants need to really look at all of the operations in their restaurant and see what are those manual things that we're doing offline that we could potentially either automate, use a digital tool, because with staffing is still an issue, and you want the staff to be able to spend as much time on the actual service and hospitality and less time on managing some things that people are on all these digital channels now. They're finding restaurants this way. And if you have, if most of those people are served by digital tools, then you get the odd person that wants to call in, that wants that personal touch. You have the staff to manage that, and you can manage that kind of in-person experience as well. So I think it's a time where people need to look at their restaurant, because I think you also mentioned around how hospitality could be one person, and now it extends past these restaurants, and it's like, it's not feasible for one person or one restaurant to kind of manage that just with the offline tools we have. We need to lean on digital, and we need to lean on these automation tools to get back to the level of hospitality we had kind of pre-pandemic.
Absolutely right.
Yeah. So Jay, I think you got another great promo lined up that we can run here, and then I think we'll jump into we can jump in a little bit more to OpenTable and what's made them great for so many years.
Awesome. Here we go.
It's not about turning on the lights, starting the grill, and prepping the food. You put on an apron, flip the open sign, and ready for the day. Regulars sit at the same spot and tell stories that bring smiles. Some days can be chaos, challenging. You persevere because you have an undaunted passion, a calling to make people feel welcome and warm. Guests come and go, some you may never see again. The restaurant business is heaven and hell. It's laughter and tears, forever changing and extremely challenging. When the day is done, feeling exhausted, yet somehow content, you smile, knowing tomorrow you get to do it all again, and you wouldn't change a thing.
Another great promotion. Still
Is
wondering where the Restaurant Canada show is coming in. I'm sure we'll get there.
We'll get it in there. We'll get it in there.
Yeah. So before we jump in, like I know, Vanessa, you've given us kind of a general overview of what OpenTable does, and we can touch on that a little bit more, but maybe give us a little bit of your background. We'd love to ask the guests, like, what got you into food service? What got you into like this hospitality, even on the digital side, and kind of what made you, like, kind of why was it the path that you chose, in general?
How I got into hospitality. Wow. Ultimately, I'm a people person, and I like to talk about restaurateurs sometimes as being hearts on legs. And I think that's how I am too. The connection around people and around a table is the best place for that to happen. So I wanted to put myself squarely in that space where I was facilitating those magic moments around a table. So I started off in fine dining Italian at 18 and did both the independent restaurant side of things, joined one of the greatest corporate restaurant chains in Canada, and got tremendous training, really like academic training. I went to school for business at the same time, but I really loved the corporate restaurant space because it allowed me to see every piece of a really well-oiled machine, how all the parts fit together. I was given tons of learning opportunities, and where, you know, there weren't programs where I was necessarily that taught hospitality in a more intellectual or academic way. I was given a lot of opportunity to do it on my own. And then I went out and did more of that, studied wine, became a sommelier, got a degree, studied a lot of marketing, and I got a degree in business, studying marketing and sociology, so really understanding how people think and what they do. And I think it's paid forward to a really cool career. I've touched on wine sales. I've been on the recruitment side of the hospitality industry, and joined OpenTable really because it allowed me a place where all of those parts of my career up until that point congealed and made sense to offer as a trusted consultant to the restaurants I work with today. Just having that great understanding of the industry in all corners.
That's amazing. Like, it seems like you figured out very quickly like what you loved, and then found ways to continue to stay in that stay in this space, but continue to evolve yourself, evolve your roles, evolve your level of like involvement. And I know what you're talking about. I've seen you at trade shows. You don't give handshakes, you give hugs. Like, I've seen your customers like, oh my God, like I've watched people notice you from like 3 booths down while someone's doing something really cool, and then like, oh, it's Vanessa, and they run over and it's like, hello, and everything's great. So it's like you clearly found, you know, the right place, and it's very cool to see you. It's very cool to see anybody being able to actually follow such a great path, and kind of know what they want. So I mean, OpenTable is obviously very, very lucky to have someone like you, but I know it goes both ways.
It goes both ways. I'm very lucky to have OpenTable too. And
well, they've been
really kind words.
Oh well, it came very easily. And so, I mean, there's a great way to segue. So, I mean, OpenTable has been a great name for so long. Like, I've known them for a very long time. They've done a lot of different things and innovated a lot of different ways. So, like, what are some of the things that you've noticed working for them that really help set them apart after all this time?
Oh my gosh, that's a great question. I think there are a few really important ways that we're set apart. Number one, we're so fortunate to have the trust of millions of diners who have our app on their phone, who enjoy our desktop experience, and they rely on us to make dining decisions every single day. So I think our user experience is exceptional. We're always tailoring suggestions to diners to get the right restaurants in front of them at the right time. And by consequence, that keeps our restaurant partners hopefully full and with great guests. Mm-hmm. On top of that, our tech is really great. We have the best-in-class table management technology. We really listen to and work closely with our restaurant partners, and we want to solve for their challenges in service. We don't have time in service to have tools that don't work efficiently and intuitively, right? We talk about staffing challenges. We want you to be able to walk into your shift, open up that iPad, and kind of let the show run itself. And that's just sort of the anchor to a great shift. Mm-hmm. So I think that's a really important piece as well. And I think not only are we doing, connecting the diners with the restaurants and managing what's happening within the restaurant, with a tablet, but we're giving restaurants the tools to stay connected to their guests. We're giving them, a really great review management platform. We're allowing them or empowering really reservations coming in through their social media channels, through our Meta integration. And we integrate with email service providers so they can keep in contact with those guests and keep them, I always like to call it like the diner retention cycle. The guests come in, they tell you who they are and what they want, you know about it, and then you can market to them in a way that makes sense for them to book directly with you next time around with really great email marketing.
That's amazing. Yeah, you nailed a couple of great features, like a bunch of great features and things that you guys have done. But I mean, just the fact that like a tool like this it does cost a good amount of time, it costs a good amount of money to run it and a good amount of time that you've been able to, this is something that, as you said, like, I don't even know the official number, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of restaurants have used and continue to use because there's value, and you're able to figure out what features are most important to the largest number of restaurateurs to keep them happy. One of the things that I think we talked about that I love is this idea that it's not even just like the restaurants benefit, but even as a guest who uses OpenTable, I think you mentioned around how digital hospitality travels with you. Maybe you can touch on that and some of the cool ways that even you who works there benefit from this, since you're traveling all over. Anyways, maybe you can speak to that side of it.
Right. Well, there's nothing worse than being, a restaurant lover and not knowing where to eat in a new city.
Yeah.
And the risk that you take, just walking in somewhere. So what I love is that my app knows me. It knows my dining preferences. It's tracking where I eat at home. And when I travel, it's suggesting restaurants that suit my needs. So that, really helps to take at least one of the risks out of dining in a new city, which I think is amazing. And from the restaurant perspective, it's inviting guests who may never have had exposure to them into their restaurants. And that's a pretty special thing to have people from around the world. We work with diners, or diners on our network are from over 100 different countries. And so imagine the idea of that sort of cross-pollination effect. When those diners come in, they have a great restaurant experience in a town they don't know, they go home, and that's what they're talking about with their friends, their circle of love and influence. You can't pay for that kind of testimonial marketing. So
yeah,
it's one of my favorite pieces. Yeah.
Well, and I think you touched on a piece as well that is so nice when you're traveling. And I mean, if you travel a lot for work and people talk about, oh, you get to travel all these cities, must be so much fun. Oh, you get to go there all the time. But it's like, sometimes, you're tired, you're exhausted. It's you're a long trip, but you can open up your app, you can find a restaurant. And not only will you find a restaurant that suits your taste, but the restaurant is already given information about you. So you can get that tailored experience that you would get at home while you're abroad or elsewhere. So it's very cool. And again, too, you touched on the idea of that you're promoting restaurants to people. So I think a big topic around third party say delivery or ordering, or it's a great way to acquire customers, but it's a very expensive way to keep customers or keep guests. But you guys actually do help with this as well. So you do drive diners to restaurants within your network. And if people are using, say, their own first party ordering, or they're just, using their dining tools, then they can be more profitable than acquiring those guests from a third party platform. So maybe you can touch on the how you guys drive diners to establishments as well.
Sure. Yeah, it's a great point. And thanks for mentioning that. I think oftentimes we, sort of get put in the box of being a reservation platform. And we're way much more than that. So we're really offering diners inspiration for all occasions, for every budget. As I said, we love to match up the right diner at the right time with the right restaurant. So
I love that. Yeah.
So how are we doing that? Well, we've got tons of diners who are engaged with us on our app and using our desktop experience already. So we have this great pool of people who are just ready to dine. We work with hundreds of trusted partners across the internet and cross-pollination marketing efforts. Not to mention, we do our own email marketing campaigns that are tailored to diners' preferences. So, I get emails all the time about the best brunch spots in Toronto, knowing that that's part of, my dining habits. We do a ton of social media marketing. And I don't know if anybody here watching was in Toronto this past summer and fall, but we had a really biggest ever in Canada, I believe, out-of-home marketing campaign. We called it Dine On. It was a welcome back to restaurants, our sort of celebration of coming back to restaurants. So huge billboard campaign to try to attract new diners to our app and new restaurants to our platform as well. So, I could go on. We do listicles. We do all sorts of blog posts and all the relevant stuff that's happening in the industry. So all things point to driving diners to restaurants. We really want to make that connection authentically and listen on both sides to both diners and the restaurants for what they're looking for.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I mean, the fact that you have so many services, I mean, I just thinking about this and then talking with you, I mean, I just talked about it. Hey, you want to transition people from third party to first party, but there's so easy to say, but there's such a huge gap between everything that goes into the advertising, the promotions, the having the platform with a third party, to saying, I want to offer my own, say, first party ordering and expect to have all the same pieces. Well, That is a huge gap that it's really hard for, say, small restaurants to do that because they might not have a marketing lead. They might not have they might not have the knowledge to run, pay-per-click and ads and things like that. So, I mean, I've been looking for solutions to help people bridge that gap, and clearly OpenTable slots right in between those two to say that you're not going to be necessarily paying that, that same fee for the third party, but they don't necessarily have to go out on their own and just say, okay, now it's all on you, set up, a first party ordering and good luck. They can use a service like OpenTable to help bridge those gaps. And I'm sure they can ramp up and ramp down the amount of services they're using based on either their experience or the level of success that they're having. So it's very cool and super, super important for restaurateurs right now to find a way to bridge that gap.
Yeah, absolutely. And to that point, we're doing all of this marketing on behalf of our restaurant partners, on behalf of, looking for new diners to join our network as well. We're doing that anyway. And so we're joining OpenTable as a platform. Sometimes we talk about sort of the diner acquisition fee, and it's really great that it's a pay on performance kind of thing. If you're open to our network, you're only paying for diners who are truly having sat and eaten in your restaurant in that way. Mm-hmm. And so it takes some of those sort of variables out of the decision making around marketing, because you're getting what you pay for in this case.
Yeah, and it's easy to see that because you can give them statistics in marketing, but if they're not, they didn't go to school for that, or they haven't looked at it, then it's not always easy. So it's like there might be great data, and that's the other piece, is that there's so much data out there right now that people can collect this kind of data all over the place from several different tools in the restaurant, but data without context or data without an actual insight, like what you're saying, it's just noise. It's so hard. You get into this like paralysis through analysis as a restaurant owner sitting in their back office trying to look at all the reports and saying like, cool, look at all this cool data. What is it telling me? And then you pretty much have to go Da Vinci Code on it to figure out what's happening, unless you have somebody like a platform like yours that can actually help dissect these pieces. Because if they're spending all their time having to do all this research, well, they're probably not getting, they could be spending that time elsewhere. All right.
Right. How much time do we have to be in the back?
Yeah, I was going to ask Jay. I don't know if I dare ask if we have another commercial queued up.
Surprisingly, we do.
Okay, let's run that one more, and then we'll wrap up and talk a little bit more about how people can engage.
Now, be careful. Be careful. This one just goes at the end of it. Just cuts right off. It doesn't bleed out.
Okay.
Okay. You okay with that? You're so serious.
Holding on tight.
He's so serious. Here we go.
Well, I've never heard anyone talk about a commercial so seriously.
I'm serious about it. It's a great event. Here we go.
Been through a whole lot, but we overcome. Enemies in our face, but we ain't gon' run. Never drift off course, always stay on mission. Won't slow us down, cause we way too driven. Yet we put in these 10,000 hours. You won't stop us, cause we got the power. Whole world is watching, and I hope they ready. From here on out, we are legendary. We ain't going nowhere. We'll be standing right here until the end of time. Till the end of time. We ain't going nowhere.
See how that just went?
Well, I'm stoked. I mean, you don't have to convince us to go because we're already going. We're going to be at the RC show. And what's very cool about it is that, like, I mean, I've run into people that I hadn't met for years there that were there for all different reasons. And I mean, pretty much anybody that's either a fan of restaurants, fan of going out, curious about the technology, or if you're on the business side, there's something there for everybody.
And Chris.
But wait,
it's also that SVK is the proud media partner of the Restaurants Canada show this year.
SVK is a proud media partner.
You will see our logo all over. I'm hoping.
You guys all have a very cool setup. I mean, last year was also a lot of fun, doing the live show all day. And I know you guys are going to be set up.
It had nothing to do being beside the liquor entrance to the liquor side. It had nothing
to do with that. It could be two things. But I mean, I still actually have stacks of those cups you gave me. My nephews love them.
Those cups got me a lot of trouble, but and Vanessa, make sure you drop by our studio when we're there. Please do.
I'd love that. Thanks, Jay.
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah, we got like, I think we got like people bringing us food. Hint, hint.
People always bring food, and it's amazing.
Yeah, how much food we were getting, Chris, was crazy.
It's amazing. Everybody wants you to try their stuff, and I mean, it's great, and it's easy to promote because there's so many great products. So someone brings you like. I remember eating like, oh, this is like, oh, amazing cake. Mom. Oh, did you know it's gluten-free, vegan-free, GMO farm to table? I was like, holy crap, this is awesome.
That's pretty cool.
Do you have chocolate cake? Cool. So, I mean, there's obviously so many things that you guys can do for restaurants. And I know you have a bunch of experts that can help people dissect this, but maybe you can kind of say, help them out a little bit by saying, you know, what type of restaurants can really benefit from OpenTable's help, and then maybe we'll talk about how they can actually engage with you.
Yeah, sure thing. Well, really, OpenTable's for all restaurants. If you're, full service dining, OpenTable is for you. We're advocates for the industry at large. We understand that no two restaurants are alike, and we have tools for everybody. So we really want to help support restaurants based on their needs, whether it's a single location, multi-location, enterprise level. We really believe that we have the best-in-class tools to help out. So we're a destination for virtually every dining need as well, which is great. And we have a network already of 55,000 restaurants across 110 countries, constantly welcoming new restaurant groups. We've just welcomed a couple of really exciting groups in Toronto and the Vancouver market. So stay tuned for those.
Nice.
And it doesn't just stop with, coming onto the platform. I think it's really important to mention that we all know running restaurants is hard. Learning new technology can be confusing. Bringing on new staff means we have to train them again. So we offer 24/7 global support in many different languages. We have account managers, both phone-based and in select local markets that offer really industry-informed. We are restaurant people within the company.
Yeah.
Offering that sort of, trusted consultative approach to really help get the most out of the tools that are sitting in front of our restaurant partners. So I really believe we are for all restaurants.
Right. And like, as you described it, you have tens of thousands of restaurants across all these countries that serve all these different types of, different food verticals, and you name it. And while this might seem very big for somebody to jump into, just if they don't know what they want, well, your host, your kind of digital hosting and, guest experience portion kind of, I think, starts with that like first engagement, where you don't actually need to know exactly what you need or exactly what you want, because frankly, if you did, you may not even be there. You may actually just need one of your experts to just start the process. So if somebody did want to engage, like, what's the best way for anybody, say, watching the show or who knows about you guys to kind of get started?
Well, definitely in terms of doing a little bit of research on OpenTable, I would suggest going to opentable.com or .ca and see the restaurants that are there, see the way that we present them. I think it's really important to understand what the club you're joining kind of thing. Yeah. And then from there, up in the top right corner is a For Business button. So you can click there. You can see the different platform, pieces that we offer, and know that when you fill out a form to learn more, you're going to speak with a real person who wants to dig into exactly what your needs are and tailor a solution that is going to be best for you and your restaurant.
Nice. And that sounds easy enough. And if I could take one piece that you said and go back to my web design days, where you can see what restaurants are there. But what I like to do is what I would recommend is you actually tell people, go look at the restaurants that are there, and then go pick the 3 that you want to be like. Like, what's your ideal goal? And you could pick the largest restaurant chain in the world and be like, that's my goal, or that's what I would like to emulate. And then what I found was, like, I'd go ask somebody to find 3 websites they love, and then I already generally know what they're looking for. And I think if everybody does that when they go to OpenTable, then you're already starting a leg up to say, hey, if I could be like more like this, what are they doing that I'm not doing right now? And start from there. So.
Right. And to that point, there's no difference in terms of the profile page. There's no difference between what's offered to our large enterprise level customers versus what's, for the restaurant, the neighborhood gem down the street. You have access to all of those tools. They're all customer facing. So you get to really manage how you're presenting your brand on the network. With the help, of course, of a trusted advisor within OpenTable. But yeah, I think that's really exciting to be able to say, well, these are the 3 restaurants that I love the most. And you do have the full control to manage exactly how you appear online. You can, integrate with your social media networks on Facebook and on Instagram. You can have a MailChimp or other email service provider account and help to sort of start to build your own marketing program from within, even at a smaller scale.
That's amazing. So it seems pretty like a very easy choice for any restaurant that at least hasn't looked at OpenTable yet or has not considered it. It's the best time you can go look at this, or right before everything just really picks up, to see if there's any kind of tools or tricks that you can use or that you can throw into your bailiwick heading into this busy season. But I think that's everything that we had for you guys today. Just want to thank you again, Vanessa, for showing up. That was a fantastic talk, very, very insightful, and very excited to see what you guys are going to be announcing in a couple months there. But we look forward to seeing you at the RC show. We look forward to seeing anybody that wants to show up at the RC show. You want to stop by the Cisco booth, there's going to be a live feed going on. And really excited to get out into the world and talk to people, see what's been going on. So thank you again, and thank you everybody for joining us. If you haven't done so, please like and subscribe. Jay,
Whoa!
I know.
Finally, you did that. Hey, well done.
Yeah. Jay said he'd pay me every time I said that.
Every time you say
here
that.
we go. One more piece of Cisco swag.
Another shirt.
Yeah. So Jay, I don't know if you want to throw anything in there at the end. But
no, just thanks, Vanessa, for being on the show today, and appreciate everything you're doing. And OpenTable has been around since 1998. I saw. Is that right?
A very long time. Yeah.
Chris was on the half pipes down in Ottawa downtown.
Yeah, I know.
Back in
I
those
can't
days.
remember them. Yeah. I don't go to half pipes anymore.
So awesome stuff. Well, thanks so much,
Our
Vanessa.
social media too. We've got some great content.
Yes.
Our Instagram, as Facebook. We actually have an Instagram for OpenTable Canada as well, so a little bit more relevant to the
localized.
we're talking to today. So join us on socials for sure.
Awesome.
Very
And
cool.
everyone else that's going to watch this show, because we have most of our shows are watched on demand. So we're going to get everyone over there. Watch us on Spotify. If you want to watch us on Spotify, we're on Spotify, and you can watch it on Spotify, not just listen to it as a podcast, but watch it. And YouTube, Facebook, and every other channel. Just Google SCK Podcast. It's that easy. So anyways, thanks for both of you for hosting the show, Chris and Vanessa. And we'll see you guys next week at the Restaurants Canada show.
Thanks
Cool.
so
All
much
right.
for
See you
having
guys
Chris,
me.
I'm going to turn up the music, Chris, so you can turn down your volume there. Old man.
There you go.
Yeah, as long as I don't have to talk through it.
All right. We'll see you
All
guys
right.
later.
Take care,
Bye-bye.
everyone.
Thanks again.